President Barrow returns from Malabo, where African leaders renewed their commitment to end undemocratic rule on the continent. Leaders of the African Development Bank converged in Accra to initiate measures to respond to the prevailing economic hardships. And Gambia's Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure visits different projects and institutions under his purview. Well, these and more coming ahead on The World Today. Hello, this is Eyeafrica TV. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. Now, President Adama Barrow returned from the African Union Extraordinary Summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea on Sunday, and praised Africa's level of commitment in the fight to end undemocratic rule on the continent. The leaders converged in the Central African nation last week, where they discussed terrorism and unconstitutional change of government, among other related matters. Yahya Jammeh has the details in this report.
This is the first visit of President Barrow to Equatorial Guinea since January 2017, after going into exile of his predecessor and former President Yahya Jammeh in the Central African nation. Speaking to journalists at the Banjul International Airport, Mr. Barrow highlighted the significance of maintaining peace on the continent.
Yeah, I think it is the most important issue. It's affecting everybody. We cannot develop our continent if we don't have peace. And definitely, terrorism and unconstitutional change of government is threatening our countries. As leaders, we have a responsibility to make sure we maintain peace and stability in our countries. We cannot do it alone. That's why this time we said we have to come together, put our heads together. We see what is the best way forward. There is a resolution that we have to follow and make sure we fight unconstitutional change of government.
President Barrow left for Equatorial Guinea a day after his government unveiled its position white paper on the TRRC recommendations. He, however, said he did not discuss any matter of the white paper during his visit, but outlined Africa's commitment to show solidarity in confronting its challenges.
It is very timely because we have to put our resources together. If we are together, we are strong. That's why we said we have to pledge towards humanitarian issues in Africa. And I believe that we have to look inwards. Now it's not outwards. There is donor fatigue all over the world. And you cannot rely on donor support only. That's why we said now we have to take the bull by the horn, come together, put our resources together to see how best we can approach these problems that are really threatening Africa. There was no engagement absolutely about the white paper.
The 16th African Union Extraordinary Summit took place in Equatorial Guinea's capital Malabo, with a discussion placed on terrorism and unconstitutional change of government in Africa. Mr. Barrow also retaliated his government's full support to ECOWAS' position against coups and violent means of assuming power, calling for the quick return to constitutional order in all affected countries. For Eyeafrica News, Yahya Jammeh.
President Barrow returned to Banjul on Sunday after attending the African Union Extraordinary Summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. Now, moving on, Africa Development Bank Group had met in Ghana to craft out measures that could help tackle the imminent economic crisis on the African continent. Several African countries are currently facing rising inflation and food scarcity, largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, the leaders highlighted the need for the continent to explore the continent's agricultural potential to feed its people. Here's more details of that in this report.
Many countries in Africa are going through a tough time, dealing with rising inflation, severe droughts, and food shortages. The situation has worsened due to a cut in supply of grains, including wheat, maize, and soybeans, as a result of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Leaders of the African Development Bank Group met in Accra to discuss ways of tackling the imminent food crisis that the continent faces. The African Economic Outlook report released by the African Development Bank says the continent's economic growth may reduce from the 6.9% recorded last year to 4.1% this year, while the pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict persist.
Currently, we see that in addition to that 30 million Africans that was pushed into extreme poverty because of COVID-19, up to 2 million will also slide into poverty in 2020-2022.
Climate change has also been linked to Africa's food shortage. The African Development Bank says it will provide a $1.5 billion grant to farmers across Africa to help them grow more food.
We all agreed it is time to support Africa to produce its food. It is time to have food sovereignty in Africa. Food aid cannot feed Africa. Africa does not need bowls in hand. Africa needs seeds in the ground and mechanical harvesters to harvest bountiful food produced locally.
20 million smallholder farmers across Africa are expected to benefit from the African Emergency Food Production Facility from the African Development Bank. The farmers will also be given certified seeds and access to agricultural fertilizers to help them boost food production. It is hoped that about 38 million tons of food will be produced by the end of the 2-year program. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo believes that more still needs to be done to boost Africa's economic growth.
In addition to the pressing food, fuel, and fiscal challenges, we still have to ensure that, 1, the remaining 85% of the continent's population are vaccinated against COVID-19. 2, the remaining 60% of health facilities on the continent are connected to a reliable source of electricity. 3, the teeming youth, who are over 60% of our population, are better educated and equipped for the job market.
The African Economic Outlook report has also urged governments in Africa to step up their COVID-19 vaccination drive. It says the continent's economic recovery could be boosted when infections are reduced drastically.
Now, coming back home in his quest, of course, to gather first-hand knowledge of what is going on within his ministry, the Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, Ibrahim Asila, visited institutions in the North Bank region. Now, the visit is part of Minister's nationwide inspection tour of facilities and projects under his ministry. In the North Bank region, Minister Sila inspected roads under construction within the region and held discussions. Binta Jallo is with the team, and she now tells us more of that in this report.
The Transport, Works and Infrastructure Minister and his team have visited the Hakalang Loop and Secondary Roads project in Nyumi as part of his nationwide tour. The 55.5 kilometers Hakalang Road construction is one of the major projects of the government, which starts from Bunaidu to Albreda and continues to Bafloto and Kutar. The construction includes 2 secondary roads, a 15-kilometer road from Albreda to Fasuma and a 13.7-kilometer secondary road from Bafloto to Bengali. This project is facing a major problem due to lack of human resources. The contractor lamented that he has to travel to Senegal and Guinea-Bissau to bring young people to work at the project, something he expected Gambian youth to take. The minister urged youth of Hakalang and the surrounding communities to take the challenge and participate in national development while they receive payment. He reminded them that by involving in the construction work, it can enable them to acquire skills and render their service to the country.
It is sad to say that the contractor would now have to be traveling all the way to Senegal and Guinea-Bissau to have, the workforce, to work with him on the site. And we've also engaged the community and through the Sefolu and the Alkalolu in the region to help actually reach out to their young people, because this is one thing that if you are involved in, you are always in demand. Road construction, if you have these various skill sets for it, you are always in demand, especially at a time when government is investing heavily in road construction, only to realize that most of the workforce are actually not Gambians, not by a deliberate design by the contractors, but the unfortunate situation that our people are not coming forth to be employed on these sites, and they are paying good money for this. So we want to urge and appeal to young Gambians who are interested in having skills in road construction to contact the different contractors at different places, so that they can be absorbed by the system if the places are not full so far, and they can have the skills at the same time get paid.
The resident engineer of Nyomi Hakalan Loop Secondary Roads, Vincent Atanga, explains the progress of the project so far.
Regarding the progress of the works, I should say that the project commenced in October 2020. We've commenced with the earthworks and civil works. Civil works, it's mainly the box culverts. Maybe we'll stop at some of them. Right now, the box culverts, we have a total of 67, and we have close to 50 completed by now. That's the box culverts. We start from there before we proceed with the pavement layers. And for the road itself, we have approximately 12 kilometers sealed. That means with the and Bengali, Bafuloto, the earthworks are completed. We are working on the pavement layers. From Albreda going to Bafuloto, we are also working on the earthworks right now.
Minister Silla reminded the young people that the fund that is constructing the road is from the taxes they and their parents pay, saying the government should have been happier and prouder to see its own people engaged and benefiting from their own tax money. Binta Jallo, Eyeafrica News.
We will bring you more details of the minister's visit on the projects under his ministry. But for the meantime, moving on, South Sudan's government has expressed disappointment over United Nations extended arms embargo on the North African nation. Now, whilst articulating its frustration on the UN Security Council resolution, now the government says it has made significant progress in the implementation of the country's peace deal. However, the international community also outlined its reservations about the government's position. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The government of South Sudan says it has made progress in the implementation of the country's peace deal. One of the successes, it says, is to unify command of the various armed groups in the country. But one thing stands in the way of graduating the unified armed forces: the UN arms embargo.
The government of South Sudan is dissatisfied and disappointed with the resolution of the Council of the Security Council, because this resolution, in the opinion of the government, doesn't actually serve the interests of the people of South Sudan and doesn't in any way serve the implementation, the proper implementation of the agreement.
But some members of the international community disagree with the viewpoint.
Believe me, and you just have to travel in a country, the problem in this country is not the lack of weapons, it's the excess of weapons and where they are, and the supply of weapons. And you might think it's coming from neighboring countries, but you might also think it's coming from just other people, who are just doing some games. So again, we cannot be blamed for having an embargo of weapons,
The United Nations is warning that there is an increase in subnational violence due to proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the hands of civilians. Juba, however, says it is doing everything possible to bring lasting peace in the country, but the pace of implementing the current peace agreement, it says, is being slowed down due to lack of backing from some members of the international community who are still pursuing sanctions and arms embargo on the East African country.
And from the report there in Juba, South Sudan, we would now take a break and come back shortly. Stay with us, we'll be right back. There's more coming ahead.
Tough Africa Global is the first and biggest private real estate developer in the Gambia with a presence in 7 other African countries. We are launching the development of the first smart and most modern office and retail towers in the Gambia called Tough Twins, located in the heart of the Canifing institutional area and 10 minutes drive from Banjul. Tough Twins is designed to have 5 floors of office spaces ranging from 50 meters square to over 1,000 meters square, 2 elevators, central air conditioning, 24-hour electricity and water supply, with the ground floor reserved for banking, supermarket, restaurant and coffee shops. For your bookings and reservations, please call now on 376-2333 or 776-2333.
Welcome back, and you're watching the World Today News Bulletin live from our studios in Banjul. This is Eyeafrica TV, and once again, many thanks for joining us. Now, let's return to Minister Silla's ongoing tour, because the Transport and Works and Infrastructure Minister is continuing his countrywide inspection tour of institutions under his purview, with his latest visit to Baden-Hardin Highway and Brikama Market. Now, Minister Silla's tour is being conducted to provide himself with first-hand information on how the projects under his ministry are implementing. Binta Jallo has more details of that in this report.
Day 2 of the minister's familiarization tour started at the Baden-Hardin Highway, where road construction is currently going on, towards Gambians hosting the Organization of Islamic Cooperation Summit earlier this year. Minister Silla had a meeting with the supervisor and his team at the ground. This road construction involves 50 kilometers of 20 new feeder roads and a modern dual carriageway leading from Kairava Avenue through Baden-Hardin Highway. It is worth about $20 million and was initially planned for 14 months for completion, but due to some delay, it is now expected to exceed the completion time frame. The minister's next stop was at the construction of the presidential lounge at the Banjul International Airport, which is currently ongoing and is at 45% progress. This project, unlike many others, is expected to be completed in a bit ahead of time and ensure that the building is ready for the OIC. Minister Silla and his entourage then visited the Brikama market, and upon arrival at the fish market, he was shocked with what he saw. He, however, took time to encourage the market women and assured them of change in the condition of the market. Brikama Market is one of the major markets in the Gambia with strategic location. The market is endowed with stagnant water with an unpleasant scent, especially at the fish market. Most of the vendors who speak to us at the market expressed frustrations over the condition under which they are operating their business.
I have been operating in this condition for 3 years now. Look at this. We will take woods here for people to have a safe passage. Sometimes the water enters our shops. I want even to show you the whole area so that you can see for yourself. This does not just stop here, it goes around the market. We are complaining because we are tired, and the people responsible are our leaders here. Last year, we had issues with them regarding tax. They came here and took us to pay $800 each. This water has a passage from here to the canal, but there is a blockage here, and we asked them to help us remove it so that the water can have a smooth passage. During the Jammeh days, they used to clean the place, but since the new president took over, they stopped, and this is what caused the problem.
Waste collection is a concern to the fish vendors because the market is relying on the Brikama Area Council for the collection of waste. And if the council is not available, the waste will be accumulated, which can cause contamination of fish. Minister Silla said even though the market does not fall under his sector, he will do everything possible to make sure the situation is averted.
The famous, or shall I say the infamous Brikama Fish Market, where we found a very unfortunate situation of a serious waterlog of the sewage system that is pouring into the adjacent shops. We are concerned about this as a ministry, even though this is not the special area of the Ministry of Works, Transport and Infrastructure, but we thought it necessary to partner with the relevant ministries and agencies of the government to see what we can do as a matter of urgency to come up with a solution. And we have agreed that on the 26th of this month, which is Thursday, the NRA will dispatch a team of engineers to work with the Governor's Office, the Brikama Area Council and the Market Committee here to have a first indication of what actually is the problem.
Minister Silla also explained that his assessment tool is critical but is necessary, and he is of the belief that if a solution is agreed upon, the problem could be solved sooner than expected. He also asked the women fish vendors at the market to give them a period of 3 days to drain the sewage system and look at the situation critically to come up with an engineering solution.
This is the Brikama market, and of course, as we always do, we go to community and talk to them and see some of the problems that they have and the challenges. And as we all heard from these gentlemen and of course the women in this market, you can see the market is totally dirty. Water, of course, running through the market. Of course, it's coming from inside where the women are selling fish, and the water is coming down to this place where we have the shops where other people come to shop. And of course, as you can see, this market now is really hard for people to come and buy stuff from here, especially food to be made at home. I think this is really, really bad. They all are blaming the Brikama Area Council, but they're saying that the Brikama Area Council also is saying this is not their responsibility, it's the responsibility of fisheries. And now we don't know where the responsibility lies at this stage. This is Binta Jallo reporting for Eyeafrica TV at the Brikama market.
Well, thank you, Binta. We only hope the minister or any other ministry that is responsible will do what is necessary to remedy their concern. It's quite a very devastating situation, I have to say. And finally, China is set to launch its Shenzhou 14 crewed spaceship on the 14th June 2022. Now, the facilities and equipment at the launch site are in a good condition, and the various pre-launch function checks and joint tests will be carried out as planned, said the CMSA. Here's more details of that.
Following the Tianzhou 4 cargo ship launched in early May, the Shenzhou 14 manned spacecraft and its carrier rocket rode out to the launch pad for the mission scheduled in June. It's a big step in completing China's space station, the Tiangong, by the end of the year.
As usual, aerospace workers are here to witness the arrival of the flight combination to the launch pad.
It's like a newborn baby. We see it go to another place and then travel into space. We're excited and happy. The astronaut would fly into space via the rocket made by us. When I think of that, I would feel very proud.
We wish the launch a complete success, and we're confident.
The road out lasted 1.5 hours, with the flight combination finally embraced by the launch pad. And the engineers said All ground equipment is in good condition.
All these jobs prepare for the launch. They are to further check the conditions of the rocket, and then the rocket will be refueled. Today's rollout was safe and successful. This made me very happy, and I'm looking forward to the following tests and refueling.
The carrier rocket is now on the pad with Shenzhou 14 spacecraft on top of it. Like you, we're all wondering who the 3 tachonaut onboard the spacecraft will be when it launches in June. And we're wishing them a safe and smooth mission as they begin the next phase of completing China's space station.
And from that inspiring report there from China, we eventually bring this news edition to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Africa Global brings you state-of-the-art commercial and retail spaces available for rent at Madiba Mall, located at the Bruford Gardens Estate. Our commercial spaces comes with facilities such as 24-hour security, standby backup generator, air conditioning,